What up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine Event. I think this is officially gonna be an I Digress. I wanted to come here and talk to you guys about something that's been on my mind for quite some time. You see, I think for a long part of my life, possibly, how long has, I want to talk about The Walking Dead here. All right, how long has this show been on? I should have looked at that before I started this video, but I'm just like, how long has this show been on? What, 10 seasons? Been on since, 10 years. I was going to guess 10 years. For about 10 years of my life. I mean, I guess I stopped watching maybe 2 years ago, like actively watching. And then recently I was like, let me try to pick back up on it and see what's going on, see how they're doing some things, because I know that the comics ended. So I was curious how they would progress the main story, though I haven't gotten too much into that. But what I want to say is that, is that over the years I've just been watching The Walking Dead religiously, right? I've been watching The Walking Dead religiously while at the same time hating fucking most of it. I hate so much of The Walking Dead. They're fucking changing logic. They're ever-changing logic on The Walking Dead. Nothing is consistent with that show. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir. I don't know what that means. Is that a good or a bad thing? Anywho. But it's just like, dude. I hate to love. I hate watch that show. I fucking hate watch it. I'm like, dude, that's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid. I was just watching Fear the Walking Dead. Was just catching up on that. I read the comics pretty much till they ended, and for whatever reason, I don't think I saw the last issue. I just didn't care. Once they told me it was ending, I was like, well, nothing is gonna be resolved. And it's just gonna be like, well, this is the world now. So I was like, I mean, I guess that could be coronavirus. This is the world now. So I was just like, fuck. I had kind of lost interest, but I was like, fuck, let me pick it back up. And I'm starting to watch Fear the Walking Dead. And every 5 minutes, I'm like, dude, that's fucking stupid. That's fucking stupid. It doesn't make any sense. And I've compiled a list of a few things here, if I can speak, of why I hate, why I love to hate this fucking show for admittedly way too long, I would say. I've been hate watching this show for 10 years. And I would say, because once I started to even fall off with the main show, I started to pick up a little bit with Fear the Walking Dead. And now they just started The World Beyond. The Walking Dead, The World Beyond. They have a third show, ladies and gentlemen. It's never going to end. I think I saw something where they were talking about 15. They could go for 15 more seasons. And this is when the comics was still on. So I was like, that's not going to happen. But with 3 shows now, it probably will, because all the stories are intertwining. So now they're just bouncing characters from show to show with no end in sight. So what are some things that I fucking cannot stand about The Walking Dead? Even though I can't stop watching it, I fucking, it's addictive. It's addictive as fuck, but I'm just like, dude, that's so fucking stupid, all right? There's so much in it. So let's get back. I'm not going to keep you here for too long, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to keep you here for too long. I'm just going to give you some brief points that I've been going through over the years. And a lot of things have added to that list since I started. I remember going on a rant about some of these things back when I was living in Madison. I was living in Madison from about 2011 to 2012, 2013 or something. I moved there at the end of 2011, and I moved out, I think mid 2013. And I was living in Madison, going on this rant, and I figured I'd share it here with you. So understand that if that was about 2013 when I had this rant, a lot of shit has been added to that list. It was 3 years in at that point. We were 3 years in at that point, and I had a list of complaints about The Walking Dead. It was probably at the height of its popularity at that point. And I was like, yo, this show makes no fucking sense. So here we go. Rick, all right. Rick gets fucking shot. You guys know what I'm talking about? If you don't know, oh, wait, that's wrong image. I'm pissed off about that more than anything. Rick gets shot, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Rick is the main character. If you don't know, plays a police officer with his best friend at the time there who's tending to his wound. They're just doing regular police work, and this nigga Rick gets shot. All right? That's where we at. Rick gets shot. He's dying, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that face. Bleeding out. He's dying. Rick don't die, though. Rick don't die, though. Does he? Does Rick die? You know what happens to Rick, ladies and gentlemen? This is what happens to Rick. Rick gets put in a fucking coma. All right? Let me sip my iced coffee. Rick gets put in a fucking coma, ladies and gentlemen. Rick is in a coma. All right? That's what happened. Rick gets put into a coma. And I've looked it up and nobody really knows. They never really say how long, but pretty much based off certain things that people could tell from just super digging into the show, this nigga got shot, put into a coma, and was left in the hospital virtually unattended for 45 days. And then this nigga just woke up in the hospital bed like, oh, what's going on? I'm in the hospital. Nigga regains consciousness, all right, after 45 days of being unattended. Nigga just wakes up like, oh shit, what's going on? Not only does he just wake up, the nigga just with no rehab, all right? This nigga got shot, bleeding out, didn't walk for a month and a half, hasn't used his legs. And the nigga just gets up, walks out of the hospital, gets dressed, walks out of the hospital like ain't shit happened. That pissed me off. Why do I have all this on? I was like, that ain't real, my nigga. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm also watching a show about zombies, so my nigga, shut up. And so he walks outside, all right? He walks outside fully dressed in his police fucking uniform. I'm skipping over some shit because I'd say... So he's in the... Okay, I'll say this. He's in the hospital, right? Before he leaves the hospital, he sees that there's a door that's barricaded or whatever, chained off, and it says dead inside. And there's like hands, and he's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? All right, but this is some weird shit, okay? This is what happens after a young man gets dressed and walks outside for the first time, not knowing anything. Keep that in mind. Rick Grimes has no idea what's going on in the world. He doesn't know what's happened. He just woke up, saw hands, everybody's gone, dead inside. He has no idea what happened, okay? Keep that in mind. Niggas outside, there's abandoned cars everywhere. He's looking around like, what the fuck? I think he hears something, so he gets down on his knees and looks under his car. He sees footsteps. Now, he sees somebody walking, right? What I see from where he is, I could see a small person wearing matching slippers, wearing a robe, matching slippers, still taking steps, matching slippers. There's a fucking stuffed rabbit laying in the ground. The person bends over, picks up the stuffed rabbit, and continues to walk. All right? Rick then, this weak ass nigga, Rick, then at that point, runs and says, hey, little girl, I'm a police officer. I'm not going to hurt you. Everything's fine. The little girl keeps walking forward. Keep that in mind. He shouts out to her twice, and she keeps going. Then he says, hey, little girl, don't worry. Don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. And then the little girl stops in her tracks, slowly turns around, and he sees this fucking zombie girl. You know what I'm saying? He sees zombie girl there. I don't think that. So I want to see this, all right? So they do the face up, the close up of her face and all this shit. He sees the zombie girl, all right? sees zombie girl, and she starts to walk toward him. This is what he sees walking toward him, and he pulls out his pistol and commits cold-blooded murder, ladies and gentlemen. Cold-blooded murder is what Rick Grimes commits in this episode. As I said, to keep in mind, he has no idea about this zombie apocalypse. He's just a nigga that woke up in a coma and is just like, where is everyone? What's going on? And he sees this child, and he has no reason, as a fucking full-grown man with a gun on your side, he had no reason to think that this child with a fucking pet rabbit, matching slippers and a robe, was about to do him any real harm, right? He had no reason. And even as, like, I'm watching Walking Dead now, and they're just, like, so slow, and they just, like, kind of push him, like, get away from me, little guy. He sees this child, and she starts to run at him. She starts walking slowly, but then she starts to pick up speed, and as soon as she starts to pick up speed, he pulls out that pistol, bah, shoots her right in the head. Now, yes, I know, as the watcher, as the viewer, I know that this is a fucking zombie. And had she gotten close, she could have bit him and turned him. He didn't know that. What he did was he saw a little girl with a teddy bear in a robe and matching slippers running at him, and he decided to commit cold-blooded murder. And with that, defund the fucking police, ladies and gentlemen. Rick Grimes committed cold-blooded murder. He shot that unarmed white girl right there in Georgia. All right, I don't know where everybody. I'm gonna stop. Defund the police on that. I'm gonna stop. One thing that really set me off, and I kind of showed it to you guys earlier. Season 1, ladies and gentlemen, episode 2, Exhibit B, ladies and gentlemen. What happened in season 1, the very first season, in the very second episode? The episode starts, I remember, like, when I was watching it for the first time, and I was just like, what? So this is what happened. Let's go back. So I had started watching The Walking Dead, I would say probably in season 3, at the height of its popularity. And then I went back. So I was watching in season 3 when they were, like, in the place that, like, exploded or whatever that nonsense was. I started watching then, and then I went back. So that's where all my confusion came from. I think had I started watching from the beginning, all this probably would have just, like, went over my head, because these are earlier season things that went away as the show progressed. But as I started later in the series and went back, I was like, wait, hold on a second here. That doesn't make any sense, ladies and gentlemen. Makes no sense. And season 1, episode 2, the episode starts, and this motherfucker has a fucking brick in his hand, right? They're in this, like, mall or some shit. I don't know whose fucking little girl face I see. There's, like, a child's face in this photo that should not be there. I don't think that person is actually in the mall, but that's just a random image somebody put in there. But so as Rick or whoever is in this mall hiding out, fucking the zombies find out that they're there, and this smart motherfucking zombie picks up a brick because it's a glass window. Why wouldn't you use a brick? Because you're a fucking zombie. You're a mindless zombie. And it makes no sense. Never, ever again, as far as I can recall, other than the first episode, when this little girl bends down and picks up a teddy bear, and in the second episode, when this motherfucker picks up a fucking brick to break the glass door to get his meal, I was like, what the fuck? What? Like, going back and I was like, why does this nigga got a rock? He got a brick. He trying to break the window with a fucking object. Why is he suddenly smart enough to use it? But like later on in the seasons, I didn't understand that. And it shouldn't make any sense to you guys. Moving on. I hated that. When I saw it, I was like, yo, that nigga's using he got a brick. That shit was so silly. Season 1, episode 2. The same episode, ladies and gentlemen. Rick and Glenn just decide, they just establish among themselves that if they cover themselves in zombie guts, the walkers won't notice them. All right? They won't notice them. Why? Because just looking at them would be silly. All right? They need to smell the living, because seeing or hearing them would never be a factor, okay? And that's just set in stone and will never change. All right? It's not like the writers would be crazy enough to establish within the main characters that they can walk among the dead if they cover themselves in the dead, only to have that same group later shocked to discover people covering themselves in dead and walking freely among them. There's no way, all right? It's not like this didn't happen, all right? It couldn't have happened. Because if that happened there, ladies and gentlemen, if they covered themselves in guts and they didn't cover their faces at all, the zombies just couldn't see them because they couldn't smell them. All right? And I haven't seen the whispers on the show here. I just saw this picture here. I've only read through it in the comics. But my issue with the whispers here and this whole concept, right? So Rick and Glenn cover themselves with the guts because of the smell, right? And in the comics, I'm not sure what they do or how they explain it in the TV series, but in the comics they take the dead body of a zombie or something, and they pretty much skin it perfectly like you would do, like, I don't know, if you were getting a coat or something, like if it was like an animal and you were skinning an animal or some shit. They skin these people. They fucking hang out the fucking the skins. They tan them. They do what they treat the whole skin and turn it into a suit of protection. Now, when I was reading this in the comics, this is another thing that I was like, yo, that doesn't make any sense. So you established here that they couldn't see them because they couldn't smell them. They're covered in guts. But then later on, you bring in the whispers who take the skin and treat the skin so much, to my thinking, they would no longer smell like dead people. If they had did all that treatment to the skin and made it into a suit, like sewn it together and all that shit, like they would no longer smell like dead people. They would just be living people covered in fucking costumes. You know what I'm saying? They would be in fucking Halloween costumes and still smell like living people at that point. So I don't know how they're explaining it in the fucking show, but it didn't make any sense in the comics to me, because in my mind, after you do that treatment to make it into a suit, you're not going to smell like rotting flesh. They did whatever it's like leather. They put it on like leather suits is how they explained it in the comics. So does leather smell like a fucking, I don't even want to fucking. Anywho, let's move on. All right. Well, no. Let's not move on, because they got the skin suits. All right. As long as you cover yourself in dead, you don't need to smell like the dead. As long as you look like the dead, that's set in stone and it will never change. All right. Season 1. Season 2, episode 1. They're on the fucking highway, ladies and gentlemen. They're on the highway. Season 2. I was just talking to you about instances from season 1. Here we are with season 2. They're on the fucking highway. and there's fucking a herd. There's so many fucking walkers coming, and they hide from the walkers because they're like hiding on top of RVs, hiding under cars, because as we all know, it's not about smell. It's not about smell. They can't smell the living. They need to see the living in order for them to know that they're there. So as long as they hide under cars, the fucking walkers will have no idea that they're there. And that's just set in stone, and it will never change. That's just how the show goes, you know what I'm saying? That's the rule of the whole show. Those are just a few things in the fucking direct points of the episodes where I was like, fuck, dude, that's stupid. But, I mean, the whole concept of the show is pretty dumb to me, if you ask me, but I watch it anyway. And if you're like, what do you mean it's so dumb? These niggas have no working digestive systems, my nigga. Where does it go? All right? I've had these rants many times, and they're like, oh man, what if it's like rabies, and they just go back to their instincts, and it's just eat. And I was like, okay, well, if you go back to your rabies, you're talking about a person with a working digestive system, my nigga. They have no working digestive system. They're decaying, and it's like, if they never eat anything, they'll just keep walking and wandering for years because they have no digestive system. They don't need any nutrients or anything to survive. They're just fucking biting flesh, chewing it with no working digestive system. Where does the flesh go? Why isn't there fucking like just every now and then they just come across like fucking giant fucking waddling walkers that are just ready to pop because they've been feasting on human flesh and it hasn't gone anywhere? Maybe it's like stuck in their fucking throat or in their chest because they don't have working digestive systems. Where is it going? Their flesh. Some of them have decayed to a point where their flesh is just falling off the bone, which is like, well, how do you have muscle in order to work those bones? You know what I'm saying? Like, none of it. I've seen points where it's like the skin has they've decayed and the skin is just melting off their bones. It's practically just a skeleton. And it's like, that's not how the human body works. You have no fucking muscle. You have no tissue. And you're not going to be able to lift these bones. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. But I watch it. I can't not watch it. I can't watch it. They have no working digestive systems. They aren't exploding of eating flesh. And my thing there is, why aren't they huge? Why isn't there huge zombies, ladies and gentlemen? Talk to me about that. Why aren't they huge? This question might fuck y'all up because it's one thing I'll never understand. And it's just like, why are there so many walkers? Like, let's go back to this highway picture right here. There's fucking like hundreds of fucking dead people walking around there. How come I'm the only one that says like, yo, that makes no sense? That makes no sense. Unless like random, just when this happened, like half the population just dropped dead. Unless that's the explanation, but that's not the explanation. It makes no sense. And you might be saying like, what are you talking about? What do you mean, why are there so many walkers? Why are there so many walkers? How come there are so many virtually untouched walkers walking around? And if you're not catching what I'm saying here, all right, there's a scene, I think it's the first episode, where Rick, he finds this horse, and he comes downtown, and they even establish there, like, oh shit, if there's a ton of zombies, they'll fucking run, because they get real hype. if there's more zombies around, which was a logic that by the time you see this scene, by the time we see this scene, that's not a factor anymore. But when he's downtown and he sees them, they're like, in the first episode, they're like, hey, there's a lot of them, and the more they are together, they'll be a little more active and crazy. That's not a thing they do anymore. Now they'll just like walk with a herd of thousands of zombies just slowly walking behind them. They no longer get active, as they said in the first episode. But so here, he's on this horse, he gets surrounded by fucking the zombies, and they fucking rip that horse apart, ladies and gentlemen. They rip that horse apart to eat it. They eat that horse. They rip it apart limb from limb, just like a burst of fucking red. They tear that horse apart. And I mention this because if the zombie came here, and if a zombie came in here, would that zombie just fucking bite into my arm or somewhere where you couldn't see the bite when I'm later a zombie? Would he just like, hey, ho, lift up your shirt, bro. I'm going to bite you on the tummy and walk out of here. No, if he got the chance to bite me once, he'd rip me apart and eat me. So why are there so many dead people? Why hasn't a dead person eaten another dead person yet? Unless there's like, in my mind, there's like there's like maybe 5 walkers of higher intelligence, similar to the White Walkers of Game of Thrones, that are just going around to add to their army of the dead. Otherwise, it makes no sense that there are so many walkers, because once the walkers fucking started just chewing up people, ganging up on motherfuckers, eating people, they shouldn't have had a chance to turn other people, because you would have been fucking eaten, or at least half of your body would be eaten. But all these people look like they've been fucking untouched. I don't understand it. It's fucking crazy. There should be no reason that there are fucking thousands upon thousands, because I feel like at some point there probably could have been 100 that came across a bunch of like unarmed people. And how did those people survive? And you're saying like, what do you mean survive? They're zombies. But how did they not get eaten? How did their bodies not get ripped apart by all the zombies that were already there? How did they survive to then be a part of the fucking army of the dead? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. All right, that's all I want to give to you guys right here. This is your boy Jermaine Event. It's Babylon 5 Podcast. You guys can listen to the podcast anywhere on any streaming service. It's available here on YouTube if you search Babylon 5 Podcast. I'm your boy Jermaine Event. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. We can follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Babylon 5 Pod. You can follow my personal accounts at My Name's Jermaine. You can email the podcast at babylon5podcast@gmail.com. You can follow this podcast. You can subscribe right here. Do it right now. Like and subscribe. If you're here this far, like and subscribe. And you can follow this podcast on Podbean at babylon5.podbean.com. You can listen to this podcast on every digital streaming platform: Stitcher, Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, pretty much anywhere podcast stream, ladies and gentlemen. You can check out the merchandise. Go to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And don't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. Head over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and be my patrons. This is, once again, I'm Jermaine Event. Thank you guys for listening to me babble about The Walking Dead. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.